You ever just sit there and listen to an air conditioner and realize it's on its last legs? Well, hi there. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker Residential Sales Manager at ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 238. And I hope everybody's having a good day. So, once again, I'm just looking at a frozen screen of myself, so I'm just assuming this is all getting recorded. And yeah, I know. I wasn't expecting recording on a Wednesday, but looking at my Thursdays, it's going to be a little action-packed. So, I wanted to make sure I had a chance to do a full quality video instead of one of those like half-assed ones that I generally have to crank out. But we got some good news. Been a lot of discussion here at Old ProStar for the last week, and they decided they wanted to move our mastermind meeting. That's the meeting that I do after I do my recordings on Thursdays to Wednesdays. Can't really remember why. Oh yeah, because one of my agents and the sales manager has to pick up various children at high school, their various high schools, and get them back home. And I'm old school, all right. I remember parents didn't helicopter their kids around the valley kind of stuff, and it was pretty get on the bus, fight your way home, get off the bus, fight your way to your door. I mean, we grew up tough. We grew up strong because of, that. And there was, none of this mommy needs to come get me and drag me across town. But, in their defense, there's, for whatever reasons, both children are going to high schools out of district, so they don't get bus service. So, and for at least one of them, and I can understand why, if you get your daughter in any other school but that one right there, I'm completely on board with it. So we're going to move it over to Wednesdays. We're also going to change up the timing on it and everything like that, and just a bunch of really intense negotiations and replanning on how things are supposed to get done by people who don't actually attend these things, so they don't understand how the time constraints that they're putting on everything is going to impact the final product. But hey, what you going to do about it? You're going to salute and carry on. So, how you guys doing? So, did that seem bitter? But I'm actually working through it pretty good. But it's definitely, wow, it's been a week so far. But Thursday, tomorrow morning, I'm giving blood because I always wanted to give blood. Never had a convenient time or place to do it. I tried to give it a couple months ago, and apparently you need an appointment for these things. And because I was told you could just walk in and say, hey, you're a real estate agent. You can sit here for 6 hours until your spot opens up. And like, nah, your sister-in-law has that kind of time, but I'm a real estate agent, all right? I have things to do and people to see and hands to kiss and babies to shake, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So, let's try it again tomorrow. And in between that, I was supposed to have a lunch meeting with somebody at the Post, and then I was going to try to come and figure out how to get some sort of video out and on the road, and then meet with my agents afterwards. And I'm like, well, let's just push the video forward. So, on the plus side, because I don't have a lot of prep for this one, I get to cover something I wanted to cover last week, which is something that has been in all the news. All right, so let's get the numbers out of the way, because then we will discuss, the topic I want to discuss. All right, so these are the numbers for August 27th, 2025. Actives this week are 23,297, down 170. Our new listings are 1,901, up or down 131. Our contracts are also down 39 to 2,146, and our closings were 1,438, which strangely enough is exactly the same number we had last week. Coming soon to MLS near you is 548 new listings. Now, supply is dropping. All right. Demand is actually increasing. Supply dropped to 98.2. All right. And our demand is up to 76.9. All right. Giving us a Cromford report number still trending towards balance of 78.3. This is exciting stuff. All right. Mostly because of that. Well, I'll tell you the reason that right after we cover a little local areas. All right. So our local areas. Okay. From the top again. You can't see it under my face, but Paradise Valley is 196.9. Okay, they are They might actually crack 200. That'd be interesting. All right. But they're leading the pack. Paradise Valley, Fountain Hills, Cave Creek, Chandler, and Scottsdale are all your sellers market. Avondale, Glendale, Phoenix, and Gilbert are your balanced markets. Oh, including Mesa. Sorry, forgot you, Mesa. And then Peoria, Tempe, Goodyear, Surprise, Queen Creek, Buckeye, and Maricopa are still all your buyers markets. Still, most markets are growing. Tempe and Maricopa are still sliding, and Goodyear is actually balanced out for some reason at 77.9. So that seems to be the bubble right there. But why are we make these changes going in these directions? Okay, well, basically the reason why these things are, and it's really interesting because small screen I can see myself, but as soon as I pop big screen, it's going to. I'm just assuming it's still recording. So the interest rates. Okay, so Jackson Hole, Wyoming. There's a C.W. McCall song called Jackson Hole, which just took over all my thinking in my head. Jackson Hole had a meeting last week where all the smart people come together, including the Fed, and they get together and they have a conversation. And I guess the good, Fed chairman made a comment of they were no longer going to try to cram the economy into a 2% inflation rate. They were going to be a little bit loosey on that. So they're not going to make all their decisions based on getting things down to a 2% interest rate. And that was interpreted by the markets as, wow, he actually is paying attention to his job. And we started seeing interest rates come down, all right? Our interest rates, as the last number that I saw, on average in the country is 6.52%. All right. Now, remember, guys, our historical average, and they started tracking this thing back in 1971 when I was born, all right? Average of all those interest rates are 7.3. So we are under average, all right? But still, because we only work with our own lived experience, even 6.5 seems really high. But, all right, lenders with their programs and well-qualified buyers and smart real estate agents, all right, can negotiate and get everything down to where you can start seeing interest rates with a 5. Your mileage may vary because I don't know what your credit score is. However, depending on what some of you guys drive, I can pretty much guess it. Or how dramatic your life is. But that's a really good sign. And we can see that as buyers are starting to creeping back in. The sellers, where are they going? They're giving up. They're right. They've hit that 6-month mark. Let's see. Month is the 8th. It's August. So these are the people who probably just got their houses on the last of February. And remember, March and April are high periods. All right, which is why you really want to have your house on the market the first week of January if you want to sell in the spring. All right, so those people, and I've seen some doozies. All right, I'm looking at houses that like started off at 800, now they're at 699. All right, so yeah, you really shot for the moon, and now it's 147, 160 days later, and you're realizing it's not going to happen, and now you're trying to just get any kind of offer whatsoever you can. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. So, but that. Now that these interest rates are coming down and the buyers who are coming in are not your seasonal buyers, these are the ones who just are willing to wait it out. Okay. Makes for really interesting when we have that little fall bump that we usually start seeing. Okay. So we'll make and keep going this direction. It's going to make a hell of a spring. Wow. So, all right. So the main topic I wanted to cover is primary residences. All right, there's been a lot of news going on about various politicians and bureaucrats getting caught up because they misspoke on their applications when they borrowed money. Now, it is a felony to lie on a loan application. It's called loan fraud. And you and I go to jail for loan fraud. All right, so before you get all paranoid going, oh my God, I don't want to commit loan fraud. I won't even fill out a loan application. It's not that hard not to commit loan fraud. Simple little rule. Don't lie. All right. And it's not really something you can do accidentally because loan officers are going to ask you very specifically, is this going to be your primary residence? That is a very important question for your loan officer to know. And if you look at them quizzically and go, what's a primary residence? You only have one residence, right? And they'll say the primary residence is a house that you are going to live in for the majority of the time. You might have a second home. You might have a condo somewhere or a timeshare, but this is a place that your mail goes to. This is a place the IRS knows to reach out to you to, right? This is the place that you know where you vote, right? So a primary residence is that property you live, your home. So if you were living in the great state of California and you decide to buy a house in Maryland, right, they're going to ask you on that loan application, is Maryland going to be your primary residence? And if you say yes, you are declaring that you are packing up and moving out of Beverly and going to Maryland and living there, which means you no longer vote in the state of California. You no longer get to be a senator of the state of California. You no longer get to be a Californian, right? You are a Marylander. Man, I really should have gone with Virginia because I know how to say Virginian, all right? But you're a Marylander now. If you state, I'm using this as my primary residence, you are an intending move. 98% of Americans out there only have one house. They don't have multiple properties. They don't have a house outside the Beltway and another house in Sacramento. All right? So when you see people sitting there checking that box, the loan officer asks you this specifically because it is a direct benefit to you on the loan and how much it costs if it's your primary residence. If it's your secondary residence, your interest rate will be higher. Sometimes multiple points higher, right? Because second homes are more likely to get foreclosed on than primary homes. People go out of their way not to lose their home, but the vacation spot, yeah, you could get rid of that one. Okay, let's sell it. Okay, we didn't get elected or whatever the hell it is. We don't have as much money or kickbacks as we used to get. Now we can't make 2 mortgages. Let's sell the second home. So, but it's impossible to do this accidentally. Impossible to do this accidentally, right? Because your loan officer is going to ask you directly. And if you did manage to, on the documentation, on the application, all right, click the wrong box, okay, that you sign at the bottom, attesting and affirming that you have not committed fraud by knowingly putting false information on that application. All right. At closing, there is another document they have you sign to once again attest and affirm this will be my primary residence and I am packing up my stuff and I am moving there. All right. You can't do that accidentally. All right. And if you do, let's say hypothetically, okay, you have an organization, okay, and you are submitting your tax forms, all right, and you write a payoff to your attorney as attorney's fees, okay, but you were reimbursing the attorney for hush money to a hooker, okay. That's the third party coming in there and say, well, it looked like because, your accountant goes in there and says, well, it's a check written out to an attorney, so it looks like a legal fee. That's almost understandable. Okay. But when you were signing a document fully attesting that all that stuff is true, and, come to think about it, not to be too hypocritical about it does make a lot of sense that, lying on your IRS forms is just as bad as lying on your application, and you still have to sign them both, even if a third party filled them out. They saying you are attesting that everything on that is true. Okay, you have that. Okay, but you don't have that second document that shows up in closing, where the escrow officer is going to move it across to you and say, this is you stating this is going to be your primary residence. And at that point, there's another chance for you to go, oh, wait, no, I'm just a Congress critter. I'm still living back in the great, the golden state of California. Or whatever. So, anyways, primary residences. Other things about primary residences is that they're covered by homestead laws, which means says if you get sued silly, there's still amount of equity left in your house that they can't take away from you. All right. You have, they are protected if you have to file bankruptcy. All right. If you have to file bankruptcy, you're losing the second home. All right. It's an asset that's suddenly on the table, but your primary residence you get to stay at. Okay. It has legal protections. There's a lot of things about this. This isn't just a simple little box. All right. This is an important box. Okay. And this is an important box that benefits shady people to lie on. So, I knew going into this was going to be an editorial, but I've heard so many bullshit excuses of how, oh, this person, what does she know? She's just, she's just a member of the Fed, right? The documents are too complicated for her. No, they weren't. Okay. These are the same documents every freaking American homeowner fills out. Every one of you guys has filled that out. Okay. They're not too complicated. And if it does get complicated, then you ask your loan officer or your friendly neighborhood real estate agent. Hey, what does this mean? Is this going to be my primary residence? Are you living with anybody else? Are you moving into it? Are you going to get your mail there? Yeah, it's your primary. All right. So anyways, yeah, I wanted to cover that last week. But other stuff came up, and there will always be stuff coming up. My phone's flashing at me because of post-drama and stuff like that. So I want you guys to understand, all things considered, I hope you guys have a great weekend. All right. It is definitely getting into the season. You do not want to drive into anything flooded because, oh, wow, monsoons. We got a good one too, 2 days ago. I got calls from people across the country go, hey, I heard you had a huge storm. I'm like, yeah, it was a hooboob. It was just a dust storm. You go and you find your furniture, your lawn furniture in the neighbor's yard. The chickens are in the next county. Good times. We did lose power for like an entire 45 minutes, almost an hour. Just enough time for me to get all my setup for when the power goes out and it's in the summertime with my little fans going off of USB batteries, and we had the lights and everything going, and we're just rocking and rolling. I just sat down and fired up my Kindle to go read a book or something, and the power came back on. I was so disappointed. Right. But, that is our season that we have down here. We have, basically fall, spring, summer, rain, summer. So, let's see. And of course, children and pets. Okay. I don't think I need to reiterate that, but yeah, it'll still happen. And of course, you guys have a great weekend, and thanks for listening to me babble. Talk to you guys later.